Now, I do want to make sure that people know that everybody who is at your diagnostic center or laboratory is accredited, and it has the licenses and actually knows what they're doing, because the story that came out for the news was not that you guys were not legit, but that actually the results had not came back to the people fast enough. Is that what the main problem was?
Right. So in June is when cases started spiking in Georgia. We had had some social protesting. People were just out. So at the end of June, early July, Georgia's cases were at an all-time high.
Okay.
So at that point, I bought the lab in April. We ordered our equipment, but it had not come in yet. So in the diagnostic space, what you do is you can, if you don't have the particular equipment that you need to run that test, you reference it out to a laboratory that does have that equipment. It's very common in the
Okay.
diagnostic space. Even Quest and LabCorp reference out tests for tests that they don't have on their main test menu. So we were referencing it to a smaller lab, and we were working with a smaller lab because at that point, everybody was backlogged. Quest and LabCorp were not taking any more tests. They were like, 20 days backlogged. So we were working with a smaller lab, and they could not handle the volume that we were bringing in. In 2 weeks, we brought in like 8,000 tests, which is a lot because we were in the community doing the work, and we were collecting the specimens and sending them off to another lab. Well, once I collect that specimen, or my lab collects that specimen and sends it off, all we could do is wait for the results to come back from that lab, and then we send the results out to the patient. So we were kind of with our hands tied, waiting for them to get caught up and get our patients their results. But there's nothing you can do once you send it to that lab until they get you the results back. I even had to have legal counsel send demand letters to get those people their results faster, but all the labs were backlogged. It was all over the news. It wasn't just my lab, it was every lab, because everybody was panicking because, the virus was spreading so rapidly.
Exactly. So, was there an investigation? Was the FBI involved? What was that?
No,
Okay.
that was all sensationalized. So um, that particular week, not only were we doing testing in Georgia, but we were also doing testing in South Carolina because the bishop of the AME Church in South Carolina reached out to us and asked us, hey, we don't have any testing in our community. Can you please come do testing for us? So we were running high volumes of testing. And so the Department of Health in South Carolina reached out to us to find out what was going on because people had not gotten their results. That was it. But once they found out that we collected the specimen and sent it off to another lab, that was the end of the conversation, because everybody in the diagnostic industry knows you have to wait for the results to come back from the lab that's running it. And in all fairness to all labs, it wasn't just the lab's fault. Reagents were on back order. Equipment that you're running 24/7 that's not intended to run 24/7, they break down sometimes, and then you have to get somebody in to service it. So, I believe that everybody was doing the very best they could in the diagnostic industry to
Yeah.
get results to patients.
Okay. No problem. So, no longer, you've never been investigated. You have not been
Never.
investigated for fraud or anything like that. And you
No.
said that actually came from just the media and people just sensationalizing everything.
And here's what I'm going to say, and I'm just going to leave everybody to think about this.
Okay.
This happened in June and July that people's results got backlogged. But the news story didn't hit until October when we were filming. Why would people be going to the news in October, right? That was for television to create drama, in my opinion, because there was no issue. They were not contacting me in October with any issues. People had their results. Now, were people's results delayed, in June and in the early part of July? Yeah, some people didn't get their results for until like the end of July, August. So they were upset. But,
Mhm.
we apologized. We communicated to every single patient, what was going on, how we were waiting for the results to come in. But remember, we were their first point of contact. So they don't know that their specimen is at another lab waiting to get processed. They only know MAJL, and they know me because they trust that I am an upstanding business person, and they know that I'm in the community. So, that's probably one of the reasons they came out to get tested.
Exactly. And so just to be clear, those people who were saying that their test results had not came back yet and it was several months later has gotten their test results.
Oh,
Am I
absolutely. Everybody
okay?
legally as a lab. And I want to just say, I'm not a CLIA accredited lab. I am a CAP accredited lab. That is the highest accreditation a diagnostic laboratory can get. It's the highest. So we are highly regulated, and we have to answer to everything. And so we have to get patients their results. Now, I will tell you that there are some technology challenges in the COVID space. A lot of patients are elderly. Elderly people are not that great with email. So even though they were getting notices that their results were waiting for them, they have to log in to get their results. So there was a bit of a digital challenge for elderly people and people who were not computer savvy. And so that might have been some of what we saw as well.
Okay.
It was, or not might have been, it was in some of those cases. Because we
Okay.
didn't mail out the results. We emailed and text results to patients.